Growing up in the 1960s meant living in the shadow of giant rockets and the men who flew them. For Bart Sibrel, these heroes were pinned to his bedroom wall, until the day he realized the narrative holding them up was a lie. Welcome back to the Bookish Breakdown channel. Today, we are kicking off a brand new series exploring Bart Sibrel's controversial book, Moon Man. Sibrel viewed the space program with a reverence that defined his entire childhood. To understand why his perspective shifted so violently, we have to look at how deeply he was immersed in the world of American aerospace. Born in 1965, Sibrel was raised inside the military-industrial complex at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. His father served there as a high-ranking officer, and secrecy was a standard part of their household routine. Growing up on base meant regular exposure to cutting-edge technology. Sibrel's favorite was the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, a supersonic, top-secret jet that flew at the very edge of space. The culture of the era reinforced this fascination. Between space-themed toys and television programs like Star Trek, Sibrel accepted the authenticity of the moon landings as a basic fact of life. For 10 years, he stared at a dozen Apollo mission photographs pinned above his bed. He looked at them every single day, never questioning the images because he believed these events were a triumph for the country. This uncritical immersion in American military and aerospace culture created a massive blind spot. He was so thoroughly convinced of the mission's success that he was completely unprepared for the testimony of a NASA insider. The shift began when Sibrel was 14. He was watching a television program featuring a guest named Bill Kaysing. Kaysing was a technical writer at Rocketdyne, a major contractor for NASA during the Apollo years. He held a high-level security clearance, giving his words an immediate weight that caught the teenager's attention. On the broadcast, Kaysing claimed with absolute certainty that the moon landings were a deception. He spoke not as a theorist, but as a first-hand eyewitness to the program's internal operations. Sibrel walked to his bedroom wall and began scrutinizing the photographs he'd stared at for a decade. Following Kaysing's technical cues, he spotted light sources coming from multiple angles and backdrops that looked more like flat movie sets than lunar horizons. This testimony from an industry insider ended a decade of uncritical patriotism. For Sibrel, the realization felt like a previously hidden optical illusion had suddenly become visible, making the fake backdrops appear right before his eyes. 10 years later, while working as a professional filmmaker, Sibrel happened to edit a video for the same producer who had interviewed Kaysing. This coincidence reignited his curiosity. When he contacted the production company to find the whistleblower, he discovered they were actively purging their archives. They were throwing out every tape older than 10 years. Sibrel had called with exactly 1 day to spare. Had he waited 24 hours, the footage of the interview and Kaysing's contact information would have been destroyed. Fearing government monitoring, Sibrel called Kaysing from a neighborhood payphone. Within seconds, Kaysing's matter-of-fact, grandfatherly demeanor convinced Sibrel he was speaking to a man who truly believed what he was saying. This narrow escape from corporate erasure transformed a childhood memory into a concrete investigative partnership. Sibrel spent the next several years dedicated to uncovering the details of what he calls the Apollo deception. If the photographic anomalies are visible to anyone who looks, why does the rest of the world ignore them? Sibrel points to cognitive dissonance, a psychological block that occurs when a person's emotional attachment to a belief prevents them from accepting contradictory facts. To illustrate this, Sibrel shares a conversation he had with a prestigious university's head of aerospace. The professor stated that even if an astronaut confessed to the fraud on national television, he would still believe the missions were real. This man could not alter his opinion without destroying his entire professional worldview. Sibrel argues that pride is the ultimate obstacle. People would rather protect the emotional high of an inspiring lie than face a difficult reality. He compares the truth to finding out a Super Bowl winning team cheated, or discovering a shiny new car is actually a stolen, rusted lemon. People often react with anger because the truth feels like taking candy from a child. In Sibrel's view, society is collectively dreaming a government-contrived delusion, and they fiercely resist anyone trying to wake them up. For Sibrel, the journey was final. He decided that even the most bitter truth was preferable to the sweetest lie. What do you think? Is our society suffering from mass cognitive dissonance regarding the space race? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. In our next episode, we look at the misplaced real, a specific videotape Sibrel uncovered deep in the NASA archives that he believes provides final evidence of cinematic trickery. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Bookish Breakdown so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and keep questioning the narrative.